Hello, it's me, Chase, and I want to review this chess game I played against a level 700. Not really too complicated of a game. He challenged me twice. I'm about to beat him again. Um, in this game, I got a checkmate on him, and I did it with playing the ready opening. It's what it's called here, at least on chess.com. It's called something different on Leeches or Lichess, whatever I couldn't pronounce it. But I've been finding a lot of fun success with this opening as white, and I'll show you exactly why in this game. Show you what I was doing, but first, just to like the guy does weird things. I mean, I guess the idea here is a pawn assault. And I know I didn't make the most accurate opening moves according to the engine, but I want to show something here with this game that my problem with the chess engines in the thing about chess engines is the robots. Okay, it's the engine. It's not human. It doesn't think like a human being does. That's one of the. It's just so it's useful in a lot of ways. I'm not trying to say it's not useful. Like, don't get me wrong. It finds the best moves all the time. But sometimes in ways, there's a sense in which I think the engine is wrong. Because it doesn't factor in the human response to moves. But anyways, so just kind of coming back here, you're gonna see what I'm talking about here in a moment the way I won this game. Um, right now, what you see here is the cool thing about the ready opening or the reti opening is it allows me to let's go to the analysis. It allows me to basically kind of set up a game the way I want to because once the knight here, like when you start with knight to f3, it's a question mark move. Like black looks at this and goes, "What in the world is white doing?" Yeah, there's like really nothing clear. Like there's obviously the king's pawn opening, and that does lead to a variety of different types of openings, but it is at the same time pretty straightforward. You kind of know what to expect in the opening, but with the ready opening, you don't really know what to expect exactly. It's one of the cool things I like about it. You can just kind of set up these cool systems here. And immediately here, what you see here is I've basically transitioned into the Catalan system, essentially. I mean, it's not called that in this opening, but it's basically the Catalan that we got going on right here. Of course, with the caveats, I mean, this weird thing going on here, it kind of made me go, huh? And sometimes that's one of the things about these beginner players that can actually kind of throw off. I like to think of myself as a pretty well-rounded player. So, but that sometimes these new players can do this, kind of throw you off a little bit, because they just do weird things, and you're just like, huh? I've never seen that before. What's the best way to deal with that? So this is definitely something a little bit, maybe a little bit nervous, but I didn't think it was anything I couldn't handle. However, it does get me in a little bit of trouble throughout the game. However, so the point here with what I like to do here with this opening, and I've done this several times, and it's with a lot of success in the reti opening, um, uh, is this bishop right here lined up right on the rook. You'll notice this pawn is weak immediately because this bishop is now out here on g4. So I'm targeting that rook right now. So what I'm going to do is I throw forward the c4 pawn. It looks like a silly move because you're just basically giving up a pawn. But there's ways I can win it back. Like, and if he takes here, I could just like check. Um, it's not the most accurate move, but I could just win the pawn back, immediately. But with a queen, it's not exactly what I want to do. But when if especially for a beginner player, like you look at that and you just look at it and go, oh, cool, he just gave up a pawn, and you just take that. There's problems with this move though because the first and the most obvious thing, if you're playing as black, the problem with taking that pawn is now you've off-centered your center pawn. It's no longer controlling these squares. Now it's over here. It's isolated, and it can become pretty. It actually can become very difficult to defend that pawn. Um, and what I always do is that pawn basically is bait. My plan is to eventually win that pawn back and force black into a scramble of trying to defend that pawn at all costs. And what he ends up doing is overextending all these pieces and then it allows me to just launch an attack right on that rook. Like he doesn't even realize it. Now, obviously, a seasoned chess player is going to see that, and they're going to understand that, and they're going to make better moves. But really don't have to. Again, this is the thing with the chess engine and the kind of player that you're playing against. You know, obviously you got to be careful. You don't want to underestimate your opponents, and I do that a lot, unfortunately, and it's lost me a lot of games. I'm trying to climb my way back to 1170 right now. I've dropped all the way down to 1100 in the last month or so, and it was just not fun. Okay, so what I do is typically I will launch the attack with the d4 or knight to d4, and what my opponent almost always does is he just rushes to defend that pawn, like, oh crud, pawn's under attack, it's isolated, it's overextended, and he just throws that pawn forward. So now you see how the rook is now it's extremely vulnerable right there. It just takes one good move, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue to attack these pawns right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to throw forward another pawn. Now, I can obviously win that pawn back if I wanted to, but that's not the idea. The idea is to continue to just put pressure. Now I'm planning to remove the defender of this pawn right here so that I can take it. But again, that's not my actual idea. So you see what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of overextending his pawns here, and I'm just basically kind of destroying his queenside structure. Now the best move was to take here. That was the best move. You take back, you know, obviously we just take the rook immediately. I guess for me, I just didn't want to sacrifice material for that, so I just moved the knight backwards. But I understand in hindsight, you know, it's kind of a nice idea to have a knight right here. Again, he takes right here, just take back. But so I don't know. I think the game didn't like it because you're just moving all your pieces backwards here. So that's probably why that wasn't a good move. But either way, it's cool with me. He didn't realize his rook was completely hanging. And there we go. We took that, and then he takes that. We take that. We let this rook get it free. And I didn't see this coming right here, but it wasn't a big deal. I mean, it kind of shocked me for a moment, but I'm like, oh, crud, am I about to get checkmated? But no, not really. I just blocked it with the rook. And what we're going to do now is even though we really don't have any developments, our side of the board is looking something like a freestyle chess board, but it's no big deal. We're going to get back. We're going to slowly climb our way back, because while we don't have a lot of development right now, we got a bishop way off here in the corner. His pieces aren't coordinated. Queen's hanging, this bishop's hanging. These are not developed. I do have to watch out for that rook right there. But he blocks his own rook, so that's fine with me. And what we're going to do is we're going to start by attacking his queen, force the queen backwards. He wants to hold that pin, so okay, whatever. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go after these pawns here. I'm just going to try to see if I can remove more of his center control. I knew he was going to do that, so my idea was to undevelop the knight, but to actually counterattack the pawn. He makes a terrible, like, he's just bum rushing now. He's just trying to rush forward and continue to maintain the pressure. He realizes he preemptively attacked before he should have, and now he's just kind of trying to save face here. So we just got to be careful here. At this point in the game, I just got to be careful. I'm kind of climbing my way back into center control without blundering any of my pieces. So that's all I have to do. It's not a huge task. This bishop right here, even though it's typically bishops don't do good in the corners here, I actually like where this bishop's at, because it prevents him from doing anything sneaky here with his queen. I have complete control of this diagonal right now. There's just he's got really no way to. I mean, he can try and block it, I guess, with the knight to c6. But then again, that knight's kind of stuck there with that kind of blocking maneuver, and you know, it's just not going to be great. I think the best thing for him is just kind of castle and prepare to attack my bishop, and then, like, that's what he probably should be doing. The bishop here's a problem. And this is when you're playing chess, you got to look at these things. He can't attack it with his queen right now. If he wanted to attack it with his queen, he'd have to move this, but that loses tempo, and then it comes over here. Then I'm just going to move the bishop back here. You know, like, that's going to be like, it's up. But I saw what he was doing with this move too. I knew what he was going to do. He was going to go here. He wants to maintain the pin. He wants to go here, take advantage of the pin so that he can take a rook. And I'm just going to go ahead and thrust I feel like the best option for me, like, I could do this, and there's this, boom, 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 and he's still got the pin, and so I don't really like that. I don't want that. I want to get rid of the pin, and so what I decided to do, I want to get rid of the, like, this is an easy take here, obviously, like, in the game it says, like, oh, go ahead and take that, but you know, there's just this, and then again his queen Uh, his queen here is really close to my position, and I just don't like that. Okay, I don't like that idea. I just didn't want to allow that to happen. So I instead went, whoops, I instead went queen to d3. I guess there was this, and yeah, I guess like that would have not been good for me. Not necessarily great, but okay, that's. I don't think it's again, it's not a losing situation, so I don't really mind it too much. But the idea here is here I'm going after both these pieces here, like this pawn, and sure enough he does what I knew he was going to do. He was going to try and see if he can maintain that pin, but I move my queen so I get ready to go for here and just kind of trade off the bishop here, so that I didn't have to worry about that pin anymore. Pin's gone, and we're in good shape here. I am still a little concerned about this. It's a little bit of a nuisance to me, but I'm going to take the pawn first. He's going to attack my queen, and what I decided to do is I felt like I was in a good position to trade off the queens. I felt like I'm going to try to force the queen trade and win the game in an end game. I'm comfortable right now with this. Get that queen off the board. No more pressure from the queen, and now it's just a matter of where I want to make my trades and how it's going to benefit me. I don't like this bishop. I'm thinking about trading it off. He castles because it's all he can do. Try to get that rook into the game. And we're going to take that pawn, and he's going to push it here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and trade off that bishop. And I knew, obviously knight's going to take back, so we're going to push the rook back a little bit, So everything we're doing here is pretty standard stuff. I'm going right here because what I want to do is I want to fork that rook and this pawn right here. That's kind of what I want to do. And he brings this knight into the game. Not a bad idea to connect your knights. They become pretty potent defenders when the knights are connected. So I'm going to go for the fork. He goes right after this pawn right here, and to me the best move was rook to c3 because it defends the pawn and attacks this pawn while also defending this pawn when this knight eventually comes over here, which I was anticipating he was going to do. And sure enough, he did that. He did it like that. I didn't see that he actually hung the knight. I just defended I just took a pawn, and I was focused on taking the pawn and defending my own pawns. But at this point in the game, so this is what I want to talk about, especially at the end of this video. I was toying with the idea of playing like pawn to g4 to basically prepare for a double rook checkmate. And actually, yeah, it turns out that was a great move, to play pawn to g4. The idea being that if you sacrifice the pawn, you don't even, like, he's obviously hanging his knight, but you don't even need to take the knight because you just take right there and check, and then you got checkmate right there. That was the idea behind that. But again, I had options, but there was the obvious checkmate right there. What I decided to do, though, is I decided to just preemptively just play rook check on g7. And I'm surprised when I reviewed the game that the game said that this was an inaccuracy, because it's basically a forced checkmate. Once we go here, I guess, like, I don't. Oh, see, I now I kind of see it. Like, obviously, there's that. There's this, and then yeah, so that's where the inaccuracy was, and so I kind of see where, like, now looking back, I see it now. But my issue is like, I don't know. I guess the chess engine it's a robot. It doesn't count the human factor. What would a human being do? Like, what is a normal human being going to do? Obviously, I'm like, maybe like a master player would see this and just go, oh, I see, like this was a big mistake, and he would sacrifice his own knight to stop this. If I took back right here, forked, and now I lose a rook, and it's still winning, but not easily. Like, this is a bit of a more difficult situation for me. Again, it's still completely winning, but it's at the same time much more difficult to win. So I see it at this point now, but a player at 724 is probably not going to see this. Again, this is a learning lesson for me. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, this is like, if I'm playing against somebody who's a much better player than this, No disrespect, but a much better player. This is something I really need to pay attention to, and recognize that I should have started with G4 right here. Like that should have been the starting move. But I knew kind of what I was playing against. Go for the forced checkmate, and then move right here. He's just gonna look at this and just go, well, I'm just like looks like he just gave up his bishop, so I'm just gonna take his bishop. But actually, I was looking at checkmate, and this move is forced. I mean, there's no way out of the mate at this point. You can't. I mean, even if you try to block it with this, you're still getting mated. So he tries to block the checkmate right here. This is one of those players who just refuses to give up. At a certain point, you just got to give up. Like right now, he's playing against me over here, and he's completely losing. He's trying to save face at this point in this game. Like his last move right here. Like I looked at this and I was like, is that a bad idea? Like, was that good or bad? Like, so I just took it, and I'm like, I knew I was giving up that pawn here on e7, but I'm like, why do I care about that pawn? I'm looking at something even better. I'm taking his free knight right here. And now he's going to try. I mean, even again, like, what's this rook here? The plan is to go here, but my bishop's guarding that, so you're not getting anything there. You got nothing there. So I was like, okay, whatever. Go for the check. He tries to, and he's desperately trying to protect his bishop right here because it's about to lose it, but I'm just going to go for check right here. And then, of course, he moves his bishop right here, and then now there's just check right here, which forces his king away, the only square he can go to. You lose the bishop, then you're going to lose the rook, and it's game over. So there's no way for this guy to win. He should just go ahead and resign. But, again, you have some of these players who just – they refuse to do it. They think it's chicken, I guess, to just resign. Like, you're just giving up. But not really. Sometimes when you resign, you're just saying, look, you beat me. You win. And there's nothing wrong with saying that. So anyways, I wanted to go through that. Just kind of sometimes my problems with the chess engine. All right, I will talk to you all later.